Hey, it's Purim, which is one of my favorite holidays, but um unfortunately, I cannot we're not really supposed to be like leaving the house a lot or gathering or doing a lot of the fun Purim stuff because of the war. Um so I thought, I love Purim. I love reading. Why not do a Purim readathon? Right now, it's Monday night 9:12. Purim started around 3 hours ago. And it will end Wednesday night at around 6. So that gives us nearly 40 hours of reading. So let's see how much of my March TBR I can get through in that time. So I really have a want right now to read the last Lost Scrolls book, which is Air. This is a tie-in to the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. It's not something I'd say you should buy because it's just retelling episodes and then adding like interesting things about like every nation. So I've read Water, Earth, and Fire, and now I'm up to Air. Hey, it's March 3rd around 11:30 in the morning, and I finished Air last night, and then I fell asleep. So I don't really have much to say about Air. I liked all the books in the series. It's a fun time kind of revisiting the show, especially since I don't really think I'm gonna ever rewatch it. Yeah, and just but that's all there is to say about it. Then today, this morning, I started Deceptive by Emily Lloyd Jones. This is the third in a trilogy. We are following our main character, Sierra. In this world, there was a vaccine that gave 0.0003% of the population superpowers, essentially. And the government requires them to work for the government. So if they don't want to, like Sierra, they are essentially a criminal. So in this book, we're actually following two other people besides Sierra. She's still our main character, but we are getting points of view from two other uh, superhero characters who they call Immune. And those two actually are working for the government. One, I one the government doesn't know who he is, and the other the government knows who he is and he's working against his will. Sierra, meanwhile, is still acting as a criminal. So the main plot point, which we've only gotten hints of, but it is the main plot point in the summary, is that immune people start vanishing. And so far, I've been really enjoying it. As I've mentioned about the first book, I do find the world building hard to believe. And but however, in this book, it's been much easier for me to deal with it because since the world building was already set up in the first book, I don't really have to think about it. Like if I let myself think about it, then it's annoying, but it doesn't come up naturally in the book that much. And so far I've been really, as I said, I've been really enjoying it. The plot's really been building together. I've been enjoying seeing where all our characters are going and how the plot is pushing them. I really prefer character-driven stories, but these books are kind of plot-driven, but they still have strong characters. Like the character it's not the plot just pushing. There are some books where like the plot is there and then the characters will do whatever the plot needs them to do. This is not one of those books. The plot happens, but then the characters react, and so they do have agency and they push back on the plot. Okay, it's 1:30 and I'm on page 243, which is actually farther in than I planned because I was planning to stop. Like, I stopped after part one. Then I was planning to stop after part two, which ended at page 235. And I was enjoying it so much, I rushed into part three without even noticing. Yes, there are some small things that are not my favorite. Like, this is not going to be like 5-star most amazing book of all time. But yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Things have really become crashing together now. All of our characters who've been in different places have come to the same place, which is what I expected. However, I did not expect something that another character who just arrived to come there, and that has definitely changed where the story will go. It's also changed the fact that until that character arrives, I was like, okay, this basically can be read as a standalone. Yes, you'll be missing some things, but you can pick up on it. Because the story does explain at the beginning some things as like, why did he do that? We read the first book, we got it. But yeah, this character, no, you would definitely have to read the first book to understand what this character is and what they're doing. It's 5 o'clock. I'm at part 4, and listen, I do not know how people do this. Like, there are a few people, booktubers I watch, that do these 48-hour readathons at least once a month. And listen, I got burnt out. I had to take a 3-hour break. And it's not that I wasn't taking breaks before. Not three, a 2-hour break. And it wasn't that I wasn't taking breaks before. I was. This one was just, those were just like, oh, I have to do this. I have to go to McGill. I have to do other stuff, right? And that one was just like, oh my gosh, I need a break. There isn't something specific I have to do, but I need a 2-hour break. Anyways, so yeah, I got burnt out. I do not understand how people don't. I think at least one of my watches does take breaks, but there are at least 2 people I watch who definitely do not. So I don't know how they do that. But anyways, I got back to the book, and now that I'm not so burnt out because I took the 2-hour break, I am really enjoying it again. Okay, it's 5:50, and I just finished Deceptive. Um, I don't really have anything else to say about this book. Like, everything I said still stands. Is it perfect? No. The the world building is not good, but it wasn't mentioned as much in this book as I said. So that's great. Um, the romance, I was trying to ignore, like I generally try to ignore romances. I don't think it's really, it was ignorable, and I don't think it's terrible, but I think this book was better than the first book overall, just because the first book set up a lot of things. Like the first book set up the friendship of the romance that eventually happens in this book, and it set the friendship up way too fast. But because the friendship was already set up, when I got to this book, I've established, oh, the friendship is set up, so the romance doesn't feel rushed. Or, like I said about the world building, the first book was really trying to do all that world building, and it wasn't always that realistic, and so that was a minus. But in this book, because the world building is already set up, I can just go along with it most of the time. There were some like plot holes here where it's like, oh, they finished all their money and then suddenly they have money again. But again, it's minor stuff. So this book isn't perfect, but it's really, really fun. This is like I said, it's exactly the kind of superhero book I like. So I do wonder if we're going to get more in this world or not, because it's definitely a book where the world continues as it is. You know, there's no great revolution, no taking down the government, but there are kind of things set up to maybe go that way. But I would actually say that overall it's a very realistic book. I have, I know dystopia is apparently popping off again according to BookTube, but I at some point just became tired of the idea of this great revolution. Like, it doesn't really fit the world, you know? Unfortunately, like, I would love it if, let's say, if people could revolt and then put in a stable government, you know? But unfortunately, that's not really what happens in the real world. So, this book is more realistic on that front, even though it's very unrealistic in how the government gets there to a place like that in the first place. But overall, really enjoyed that book. Really liked the series, even though it's not perfect. You know, it's one of those books where it's like logically it's not perfect, and more than that, it should be lower. It's logically, not only is it not perfect, I should like it less than what I do, but it's one of those things that just I it's just for me, you know? This plot, even though I'm not usually a plot person, this plot is exactly the kind of plot that's for me. Hey, it's like 7:45 in the morning on March 4th, and I just read part 1 of The Crown of Dalemark by Diana Wynne Jones. So this one is also divided parts. How nice! However, I'm only planning to read half of it because it's a very long book. Partially because of that, it would be, for me, it would be very hard to read. I think in general, it would be very hard for everyone to read a nearly 500 book in one day. Plus, I do want to take it a bit slower today in general. Hopefully I can go back to work tomorrow. Right now, they're saying not, but I hope that that will change by evening. Um, Anyways, but it is still Purim. It is still Purim. It's just Shushan Purim. Anyways, so The Crown of Dalemark is the last in a series by Diana Wynne Jones, and for this one you do need to read all the books before it. You can read the 3 books before it in any order you like, but you do have to have all of them read before you get to The Crown of Dalemark. And for that reason, I can't exactly tell you what is going on in The Crown of Dalemark. I can tell you that all of our characters have at this point met up. Well, the disappointing thing kind of is that the characters in the Spellcoat, they, which was my favorite book and had my favorite characters, if they have any parts in this, it's going to be very, very small parts and very kind of mystical, magical parts, because the Spellcoat takes place a few thousand years before the other books, including this one. But our characters from the 2 books that take place at this time have all met up, so they don't know who the other person is. Or, well, they do know who the other person is, but they don't know each other, right? Like, they know the other person's role. They don't know each other. And so far, I am enjoying it. I sometimes, there is a character in here, Navis, who is one of those characters where I want to go into Diana Wynne Jones' brain and like pick at the character, just like ask her about all the questions about how she created this character. Because, see, we're getting so far of the book, we're getting from a different character's perspective, Mitt, and that was also for the book that Navis appeared in. Uh, we got Mitt's point of view, and we also got both of Navis's children's point of view, but these are all children, and Navis is also an adult and has been through quite a lot, and I just, and from the way he acts, I just want to know what's going on in his brain. And we're not getting any points of view that tell us what's going on in his brain. We're getting the points of, because he's also a very repressed person. But you can tell that there's obviously like a lot going on, right? You can tell that a lot is going on in his brain. And you can also tell, like, I think he doesn't want to tell children stuff because he wants like there to be a better life for them, and he like thinks that if he keeps stuff from children that will help. And at the same time, he has to deal with the fact that these children actually are not having a very safe life. They're having to go do incredibly dangerous things. And so he's helping them do the incredibly dangerous things, but he's keeping a ton of secrets. And um, as not as not secrets, even it's also secrets as in secrets about the politics and stuff that's going on that the children don't know. However, it's also just like advice. He's not giving them any advice at all, right? And when he does give them advice, it's very repressed and cold. And I want to know what's going on in his head. I want to just dig into his head and see exactly what's going on there. Okay, it's now 9 o'clock, and I'm up to page 130 and part 3 of the book. So, part 2 actually introduced some time travel, and in introducing the time travel, it introduced a new character, which is quite interesting. It also introduced another character who we know from a different book, but he's all grown up now, and let me say, he is quite frustrating. And yes, it is Diana Wynne Jones' thing to make, like, the gods and stuff very frustrating, but wow, is he frustrating. I really do like our new character. She is definitely an interesting one because of the amount of confidence she has. She, at the same time, she's still like, she's an incredibly confident girl, and at the same time, like, she's thrown into a situation which nobody could really be fully confident in unless they were incredibly arrogant. So it's interesting to see her deal with the situation. Hey, it's 1:40, and I just got to part 4. I did end up going on the walk, and then I exercised, and then I cleaned a little bit, and now I'm back to this book. I am reading this book faster than I read Deceptive. I'm not sure why. Like, I think maybe in Deceptive there was just like this there the sneaky things going on were less obvious than in this book. In this book, they're actually explaining it so far, which is pretty surprising. And I am enjoying it so far. I believe part 4 will be pretty much the same as part 3, except that towards the end of part 4, it will gather up for that last bit in part 5, which is actually only one chapter. And like I said, I'm really enjoying it so far. I think this is either my favorite or my second favorite so far of the quartet of them all. I do think it won't be as my favorite as like the spell coach, just because I like the ending of the spell coach so much, and I don't think this will have that kind of ending. And but I'm trying to think why I like it so much. Because one of the things that I shouldn't like, but I'm okay with, like, I don't like it, but I'm okay with it, is the way we'll just switch point of view all of a sudden. We mainly go between we basically only go between Maven and Mitt's points of view. And it will just switch from one paragraph to another. It'll literally be like, something like, Maven saw the green cliffs coming at them. Mitt was relieved to get off his horse. But it's not like it's an overall point of view. We're not seeing like the thoughts of the other characters. We're only seeing Mitt and Maven. So it's kind of interesting that I'm okay with that, because I feel like generally that would be that's kind of annoying when it happens. I always feel like, actually, in general, I think people are annoyed with it, and I do understand why. And when I'm at the moment when I suddenly have to switch my brain and be like, wait, we were just in Maven's POV, and now we're in Mitt's, it is annoying. But overall, I think that I'm actually okay with that kind of thing, because once you get into it, like, it just takes a second to switch, and it's fine. It's not like the best thing ever, but it's fine. This last part that I just read, I really enjoyed. Not like the whole part. I'm not talking about the whole part three. I'm just talking about this last chapter. It was so funny. And it was so fun, the way they're sneaking around, and that. I do wonder what's going to happen in part four. Like I said, I think it will be pretty much what happened in part three, but starting to gather towards the end. So I'm but I've been really enjoying part three. I really liked part three. I think that was also my favorite part of the book, despite the fact that it's mainly them just traveling. So we'll see. I think I might like part four less than part three. Hey, it's just about 6 o'clock. Perm is over, so it's time to end this vlog. I got to page 346, which is not the end. I believe it's 412 pages. I thought it was, the book itself is 412 pages, and then there's like extra short story or something at the end, so which brings it to like 486 pages. So, but I'm not at the end of part four either. That actually ends at page 385. So, and I'm at page 346. And I don't really have anything else to say except that I just got to the part I know I'm not going to like as much. I was really, really enjoying it up till now, as you know. Um, and I was enjoying part three up to now. And I kind of knew this was going to happen because, well, I didn't know, but I guess it's something was going to happen in part three that I wouldn't like as much. And I didn't know specifically what was going to happen, but I did get to the part where Diana Wynne Jones has this thing where she does like a very vague magical thing, and everybody moves vaguely and they don't know quite what they're doing, and I don't love it. I really, like, I don't need explanations for everything, I feel like, but I do feel like as I get older I do need more explanations. But also I don't like it when our characters are, I guess one of the reasons I don't like these parts is that, like I said, everybody moves vaguely, the characters don't really know what they're doing, is that the characters aren't making choices. If, like, there were definitely a lot of parts in this book where the characters didn't really know what was going on. And we don't really know everything that's going on. I don't, like, there are definitely parts that, like, there are all these objects that they're obtaining, right? And we don't know exactly what these objects are doing or why they're reacting to certain people the way that they are reacting to them. Or, right? But the characters are still making choices. And these vague parts, the characters are just doing what's it out what they're supposed to do, which is also kind of annoying because when you think about it, Diana Wynne Jones, especially in this series, she has such a thing of like the gods don't tell the humans what to do, the free will, right? In this series specifically, okay, and another short story she wrote, but I'm talking about this series. And then like this part is like, okay, but they're still forcing them to do what they want. Like, maybe they're not telling them outright what to do, but they're forcing them at the end of the day to do what they want. We do have, I will say that there is a little more so far. What I've read of this part does continue. I just started this part. We do have some more free will than generally. I feel like our characters are making plans, um, and they kind of have foreknowledge, so which allows them to make plans. But it's still, I also think I don't like the vague way it's written in, because when it's written in that vague way, I also feel like kind of pulls along with the book instead of choosing to actively read it. I've mentioned this in a different vlog as well. So I think that's why, but I was enjoying that part now more, and then I kind of stopped reading, even a little bit before Purim ended. I was planning to read like up to the last minute Purim ended, and then I was like 7 minutes till the end of Purim, but I just like finished the part where they totally have free will, and I was like, I don't want to read this right now. I am not prepared or in the mood to read this right now. Like, I don't, like, I'm not going to be in the mood tomorrow either, but I've read so much today that, I'll leave it for tomorrow. I don't want to, it's not a part that I'm really going to enjoy, but I'll leave it for tomorrow. Anyways, but overall, I feel like this vlog has been a stunning success. I read books, I finished Deceptive, which I really enjoyed. I read most of The Crown of Dalemark, which so far I've also really enjoyed. Like, this has been like the only part of it that I haven't enjoyed. I also read 70 pages in A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, which I didn't talk about because it's only 70 pages. This is really my Shabbos book. But I enjoyed those pages quite a lot too. Um, yeah, so happy Purim.